Cash Flow Diary Podcast, episode 485.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cash Flow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cash Flow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Cash Flow Diary Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Massey, and I'm glad that you are here today because we are going to talk about, well, probably one of my most favorite subjects, but more importantly, one of the most important subjects that you need to know. And we're going to hear it from an individual that I have known for quite some time and actually was very formative when it came down to learning what I would call one of the most fundamental skill sets necessary for every entrepreneur. And of course, we all know I'm going to be talking about sales. Oh, wait, did somebody hang up? No, I'm just kidding. I know I said the S word. Sales is okay, guys. It's exactly what you need. And more importantly, it breathes life into the business. And most importantly, the individual who's going to be sharing his wisdom and information with you today is going to be the one that I say, if you are listening, if you are ready, you will have a transformative experience right now for your business. Who am I talking about? I am talking about none other than Jeffrey Gitomer. He's an internationally recognized sales, customer loyalty, and personal development speaker. He is an author, written more books than I can even remember and count. But the one that I know him for is the Little Red Book of Selling. If you have read that, oh my gosh, then you know the fun that we're about to have. You know the truth that we're about to have. In fact, he's written a new book called TRUTHFUL Living because he's partnered with the Napoleon Hill Foundation to be able to do exactly that. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to learn today. You're going to love him today. But most importantly, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're going to learn something that you'll be able to put into action immediately. And most importantly, it'll also help you become a bigger, better, badder person. So let's get ready to listen and to learn and to love Jeffrey Gitomer. Jeffrey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Jay. And yourself?
So far?
By the way, thank you for setting such low expectations. I totally appreciate that.
Hey, you if you're going to sell millions of copies and change lives for decades, I'm going to make sure that they know that now is one of those moments when their life should be changed. That should be their minimum expectation.
It makes me happy and proud whenever I can help somebody, like really, really help them. That makes me the happiest.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I know is going to happen. You can't help but do that. So now, this being the first time that you're here, I have to ask you the same question I tend to ask everybody the first time that they're here. You ready?
Yes.
All right. I tend to look at today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, Superman, etc. And because I think entrepreneurs and superheroes have a ton of things in common. Chief among them, as an entrepreneur, occasionally I can envision myself, saving our customers with our products and services. And yes, maybe I am wearing a cape. But at the same time, like a superhero, an entrepreneur has a beginning. Think Spider-Man, for example. There was a time where he was just a kid going to school, doing his thing, taking some photos, and trying to earn some pizza money. But then one day he gets bit by a spider, discovers he's got some sort of special gift, and gets to choose. Do I use it for good or for evil? So my question to you is as follows. Before your current book, Truthful Living, before the Little Red Book of Selling, before being known as a sales guy, before being the speaker, writer, dad you are, before being known as Jeffrey Gitomer, what we want to know is, who is Jeffrey Gitomer?
Formerly, I'm disguised as Clark Kent. I grew up in a family of business people. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm a businessman. My grandfather was a businessman. My father was a businessman, and I have followed in their footsteps. I was given good genes. My mom and dad and most of our family is very smart. So I was born smart. And then I had to decide how I was going to use that intelligence for good or for evil. And I chose good. I chose writing. I chose speaking. And for myself, I chose learning. So, I've run that gamut pretty much my entire life. But let me share with your audience immediately something that they can do that I've done for the past 25 years. I wake up in the morning and I do one or all of 5 things. I read, I write, I prepare, and those 3 things cause me to think and create. So read, write, prepare, think, create. I've done that for 25 years, and so far I have written 15 books and given 2,500 speeches. So it's working. I'm going to do it for another 25 years, and then that's it. I'm going to quit. But I'm challenging the audience that when they wake up in the morning, they pretty much do nothing for themselves. And while they're sleeping or while they're fumbling around for their phone so they can check their email, I'm making money. And I think that those things are choices. Everyone wakes up and has a choice. Right. If you're going to have a good day or you're going to have a bad day, if it's, whatever the day is outside, it doesn't really matter. It's what's going on in your head. Everyone knows that. But what do you do with your allocated time? Not your managed time, your allocated time. You allocate an hour in the morning to yourself. And people are going, well, I got kids. You know what? I have a 9-year-old daughter and I walk her to school. I'm with her every other week. So every week, including this morning, we park a few blocks away from the school and walk. And then I pick her up in the afternoon and we walk back to the car. So don't tell me you got kids. That's a bunch of crap. Everybody has some kind of necessary diversion. The question is, how do you dedicate time to yourself? How do you devote time to yourself? How do you allocate time to yourself to become more successful?
Yeah, I like that. Now, there's something that you said at the beginning that I want to understand, because you made a distinction that I would love to hear you elaborate upon. You said, and I quote, I am not an entrepreneur, I am a businessman. There's a distinction there. I would love to hear what that distinction is.
To me, a businessman who is someone whose family has been in business for themselves for generations. My grandfather had a plumbing and heating supply business. My father manufactured kitchen cabinets and countertops and metal parts for the government. I ran his manufacturing plant at the age of 19, 100 employees, unionized. And, it was in the 60s and it was a different time. But I'm telling you, when you're 19 years old and you're managing 100 people, you have a challenge. Entrepreneurs, on the other hand, are someone whose mom was a teacher, whose dad worked for General Electric for 30 years, and they bought a franchise. That's an entrepreneur to me.
Got it.
And it's a slight distinction, but, I don't consider Jeff Bezos an entrepreneur. I consider him a businessman. Or Steve Jobs. He wasn't an entrepreneur. He was a businessman and ran a multi-billion-dollar business. Mine is only multi-million dollars, but it's a business and it's an enterprise. And I'm the head of that enterprise and I'm a businessman. My franchise is not for sale.
That's okay for now. I mean, but everything's. But hold on, I thought everything was for sale. What do you mean?
Yeah, it is. I've licensed. People can use my material, but you can't buy my intellectual property. There's no amount of money.
Understood. So I take us on this journey, if you will, because as you said, you've written 15 books, 2,500 speeches. Do you just wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm going to be a writer. Is that literally, was that the genesis? How did that work?
I started out in business for myself. I manufactured leisure furniture in the late 60s, and I manufactured imprinted sportswear in the early 70s. And I went to New York City and banged on doors and made sales.
Oh, yes.
So you can't rise to the level that I've risen to without actually having done it. Don't tell me that, you can't be the son of a great guy and be a great guy unless you have done the work. So I've done the work. I had factories. I carried stuff on my back to Manhattan. I cold called major buyers in major stores and major companies, sold millions of dollars, not thousands, millions of dollars worth of goods. And, I have the war stories to prove it. Because some people won't tell you the truth. Some people won't pay for what they bought. Some people will lie to you more than you will lie to them. And that's New York. I don't think I couldn't do what I do had I not had my comeuppance in Manhattan. And people from California don't understand that because they have a car that they polish and they sit in traffic.
Yes.
No offense.
None taken. I gave up a car years ago because it was costing me money to actually drive.
Right.
So
ridiculous.
It's like, no, there's no sense in doing
that.
Jay,
I live in Charlotte, North Carolina right now. I've lived here for 30 years, but during that time, I've maintained some residences every once in a while in New York City. I was just there for the better part of the last 3 years, and had an apartment and made more calls and made more deals and had more business. But if you're not Manhattan familiar, you can't build your business. Well, I don't want to say can't, but I'm going to just say you can build it faster, better in Manhattan because all the things you need are within 5 blocks.
Understood.
Or an Uber ride.
An Uber ride. It's an Uber ride away. Not taxi, Uber ride. Interesting.
Right. There's more Uber drivers right now in Manhattan than there are taxi drivers.
Which is, again, I love as things continue to progress and make things happen. Now, speaking of making things happen, that's what every entrepreneur wants to do. And you mentioned you've actually mentioned 2 of what has become my favorite ways of getting business done. You were talking about banging on doors and cold calling, 2 things traditionally people would go, I want none of either.
Right.
Yet I still think that not only is this a lost art, but I still think it's necessary today, even though we have all these other ways of connecting and communicating. What say you?
I'll give you a soundbite. Cold calling is a lousy place to make a sale, but it's a great place to learn how to sell.
Yes.
And so if you're willing to take no for an answer, and men have faced rejection way more than women, think back, boys, to high school, backseat of a car. How many no's were you willing to take back then to try to make a sale? But the bottom line is that you have to be able to engage people, get to a decision maker, have something to say once you get there. It challenges every one of your intellectual nodes in your head, and you have to be able to do it in a way that can engage people enough to where they want to buy, and not sell them. Engage them enough to where they want to buy. My mantra has always been: people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. I've actually trademarked the phrase.
But so why does, in your opinion, why does sales even get such a bad reputation? Why do people have this negative neuroassociation, this immediate, oh my God, I don't want to do that?
Do you own a car?
Do I own a car?
Yeah. Or have you ever bought a car?
I have, but I dislike the process.
Right, exactly. Everyone does. Everyone does internet research now before they go. They don't want to talk to a car sales guy. He's like not a good guy, and he uses old world sales tactics, and you don't want to hear those. Or even if you're going to buy a mobile home or one of those vacation Winnebago things, or anything where a real estate thing where it's a high ticket item and they need to make a sale to you before you go see somebody else. And so there's pressure involved, there's guilt involved, there's manipulation involved. That's not how I teach. I teach people to engage and then first to attract rather than go out. I teach them to attract people. You call me, or I don't know how we hooked up to be able to do this interview, but I get the interview because of who I am. You Google me and you go, oh shit, I got to talk to this guy. And I've been posting things online since there was online. And I try my best to put value out into the marketplace. And when I do, people call. Of the 2,500 speeches that I've given, I've never made a sales call. People call me up and go, hey, you wrote that sales Bible, didn't you? Or you wrote that little red book of selling, didn't you? I go, yeah. Yeah, we're having a sales meeting. I was wondering if you give speeches.
Right.
And that happens several times a week.
Right.
But it's only been happening for the last 25 years, so it's not, I don't know if it's going to work yet.
It's a fad. It's a fad, actually.
Right. It's a fad, right. But it's a consistent fad if I am consistent in my value message offerings. So if you're a listener and you're trying to build your business and you're trying to build your reputation, you can't do it by tweeting once a week or posting once a month. It doesn't work like that. You have to do it daily is best. Weekly is the minimum. We have a podcast that's grown. Sell or Die is our podcast for those of you out there who are looking for a sales podcast. Go on any one of the podcast outlets and take a look at it and subscribe to it. And while you're at it, give us a 5-star rating. But I would challenge you that we have gone from 1 day a week to 5 days a week in under a year. And we are now we're going to get 100,000 downloads this month. Think about that. It's unheard of.
That's what I tell. I've told a lot of my students, a lot of people that you have to find ways to go out there to keep the message going and to make it consistent.
And Jay,
yes, sir. Yeah.
There's a lot of cheap bastards out there, so let me give them a message.
Okay.
It's free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
You invest your time and maybe a little bit of equipment, but if you have an iPhone, you're pretty much ready to go.
But yet that is met with some resistance and disbelief.
Right. And get a job.
It's like crazy
at the Suncoast Mall, and piss people off over there.
It's good either way. No. So when it comes down to it, as many entrepreneurs progress through their business, they run into various sets of hurdles. First, it's them. Chief. I call CEO Chief Everything Officer. Right. That's where you are. That's the stage. Mm-hmm. But there comes at a point at which, you're not doing everything, and at some point you got to let go of the baby, i.e., the sales process, and have somebody else doing that, and then they tend to experience having resistance of helping other people get through that process of, actually getting a good salesperson. So my question to you is, how on earth, as an entrepreneur, does someone hire and or train or find their sales superstar that can help them, or be just be 80%, maybe even 70% as good as they are, to go out there and represent and do exactly what we're talking about?
Well, the first thing that the entrepreneur, the business person has to realize is that they have to let go of some of the things that they think the business can't live without them. I can promise you the business can live without you for almost anything unless you're an artist. Unless you have a supreme capability that nobody else.
Well, hold on. You could say that sales is an art. I mean, I would say that.
No, I couldn't.
Why
not?
Not
say it.
Okay,
it's
why not? It's a science, but it also has an art to it.
Yeah, the art is, if there is an art, is never letting the other person feel like they're being sold.
Agreed.
That's the art.
Agreed.
Everything else is, the questions are science, the completion of a sale is a science, maintaining a relationship is a science, building rapport with someone is a science. It's all written in books, and it has been for 100 years about what to do and how to do it. But the art is to be able to make certain that you are perceived as a normal, likable, believable, trustworthy salesperson. I like you. I believe you. I have confidence in you. I trust you. Therefore, I may buy from you. That's the art part.
I'm chuckling right now because those that have been following me for any length of time are probably going, "Oh my God, that's where Jay got that from." Because I always tell people, like, look, you don't want to be perceived as a salesperson, but you want to be a person who happens to sell things. Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Now, again, my frame of reference for you is all tied up into sales, but the new book, the title at least, would lend me to believe it has something to do with other than sales. I mean, Truthful Living, the first writings of Napoleon Hill. So share with us, if you will, where did the desire for such a book come from, and why do it? All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I'm glad that you are enjoying what you are hearing thus far. But here's one of the things that's really important. One of the most important things that you can do is get started. One of the things that I've said before, and I say again, once you get started, stay started. But more importantly, there can be lots of roadblocks to getting started. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove one of those roadblocks for you and make it a little bit easier. Because the thing that I don't want to stop you is thinking, do I need a local number? How about a long distance number? Or should it be 800? How on earth am I going to make that happen so that people can contact me as I'm out there building my business, making my cash flow grow, but most importantly, understanding that it doesn't have to be difficult. Many of you may know, but if you don't, there's a company out there by the name of Grasshopper. And what I want you to do is I want you to go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Grasshopper is the entrepreneur's phone system. It works like a traditional phone system, but requires no hardware to purchase, no software to install. It's just a number that flat works. So if you are out there building that distributed workforce across many different locations, it's a way for you to still go out there and make your number be unified, simple, easy to use, something we've been using for quite some time. So again, go over to trygrasshopper.com/cashflow diary. Now, let's get back to the rest of the story.
Well, Napoleon Hill gave me my positive attitude. I read Think and Grow Rich in 1972 10 times with a bunch of other sales guys that were learning to sell. And we did a book report on one chapter a day for a full year. And the book only has 15 chapters. So we're going through the book every, one and a half times a month. And after a while, you get it. You understand what the philosophy of Hill was, and you understand his challenges, and you understand his desire to help other people by following in his, not necessarily in his footsteps, but certainly in his beliefs and philosophies. And I did. And got a positive attitude, ran a bunch of successful businesses, and fast forward from that about 30 years. And I met the head of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I said, hey, I really owe you a debt of gratitude. Napoleon Hill gave me my positive attitude. Could I possibly do something for the foundation? He said, what do you have in mind? I said, well, I have a weekly email magazine. And right now, my weekly email magazine is at about 250,000 copies, subscribers a week. Let me do one for Napoleon Hill. I'll do it no charge. And you don't have to pay me anything. Just let me do a good job. Now, I've been doing that every Friday for 15 years. And so far, that's working. And when they came across Napoleon Hill's first writings, they offered me to edit it and annotate it. And I said, sure. So I was given value by having given value for 15 years. They gave me an opportunity because I gave value first. An incredible replication of Napoleon Hill's philosophy.
When it comes down to it, though, you could have done anything. Why? It could have been this could have been for lack of a better way of putting it, a sales slanted book from the archive, but it wasn't.
No, I took his original words, which were put into a course in 1917 in Chicago, and all I did was annotate them. I didn't add anything to his words. I put my own words in to sort of make it 21st century. But every place my words appear in there, I make a different type so we can make it happen.
So when it came down to it, was there anything that going through this, was there anything that you learned? I mean, you've been practicing for so many decades. You've been around the information for such a long time.
I learned hell of a lot. There's life-changing I should say, life-enhancing elements in the book that will challenge everybody to think, smile, and do better.
Did you say
That's
think, smile, and do better?
Yeah, because he has things in here that there's nothing revolutionary, like, oh my God, I never thought about desire. But the way he explains it makes you have a stronger desire or recognize that you have it, but you haven't really used it to the best of your ability.
Care to give us an idea or sample of what you mean specifically when it comes to desire? Because I know that there's a number of people like struggling with that. Just with the words you just said, they're like, what do you mean?
What do you want to do, and how bad do you want to do it? And then what are you willing to do in order to be able to fulfill that element of emotion in your body? It's an emotion. Desire is an emotion. Mm-hmm. And some people want it bad and some people don't.
But when I ask people...
hold on.
Okay, go
Desire was the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, correct? Are you with me?
I'm with you. I just don't follow football.
They desired it way more than the New England piece of shit Patriots.
Well, yeah, that's usually the case in a sporting event. Whoever wins desired it more. Yes.
There's an entrepreneur here in Charlotte who had a food truck that sold cheesesteaks. And I found it somehow, was just walking down the main street in town. I bought it, and I was at a food truck party or something, and I found there. And they said where they were, and I went and found them another time, and I bought a few cheesesteaks from them. And I said, what are you doing here? Get a store. Get a restaurant. And one day they opened up a restaurant, tripled their business on the best day they ever had, tripled their business the first day, sold the food truck the first week. And they've been in a store, a restaurant ever since. Mm-hmm. And... I ate a cheesesteak there 2 days ago, and I said, come on, where's my shirt? And he brought me over one today.
Indeed. Well, you gave him advice that you at least gave him advice worth the shirt.
I challenged him about how good he was, because people, and this is one of the other things of Napoleon Hill, is self-belief and self-confidence. Most people don't have that self-confidence or that self-belief unless it is foisted upon them by somebody else. At some point, somebody told Elon Musk, you're on the right track, or somebody told Jeff Bezos, you're on the right track, because they both went broke physically, if not mentally, several times. And all of a sudden, it worked. You could have bought Amazon for I could have bought Amazon for $2 a share, or Apple for $2 a share. But the bottom line is, I try my best to help other people. That's part of my philosophy. And if I can instill greater belief in them, look what I've done. Look what the heck I've done.
Okay.
And I pay for my cheesesteak just like everybody else. He doesn't give me anything for free because I don't ask for anything for free. In fact, if he started to give me cheesesteaks for nothing, I wouldn't take them. I'd still pay him.
Right. There's something that keeps being an undercurrent in everything and of who you are and how you speak, and I just want to make sure that everybody picks up on it. And you seem to have developed a philosophy of deposit before withdrawal, i.e., I will give and give and give without much expectation, knowing that someone
expectation.
And I can hear it, and I just want to make sure that other people are hearing that same thing. But I also know that someone is saying right now, as we're talking about that, they're going, well, what if I'm in a situation where I can't afford to keep giving and I actually need to have an expectation at the same time? How can they make this transition and switch?
You have to do a combination of both. You can't only give. At some point, you have to make a sale. But I can tell you that if you decide you want to give, like for example, salespeople ask me, well, Jeffrey, what's the best way to get a referral? And the best way to get a referral is give one. Because then the person feels that sort of sense of obligation, like they got to return the favor.
Yep.
I don't want to ask for it. I just want to stick guilt in there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But here's the real deal. All of that giving value stuff or the giving advice stuff that I gave to Clover Joe, I learned it from Napoleon Hill.
Understood.
And those are that's the essence of the process that I'm trying to convey in Truthful Living. So I'm going to give your listeners one brief example from the book.
Please.
Lesson number 15. There's 23 lessons in the book.
Okay.
There's 5 words that he says define someone's ability to become successful. The first one is imagination. The second one is desire. The third one is enthusiasm. The fourth one is self-confidence. And the fifth one is concentration. Now think about that. Is there anything like, wait, did you just say concentration? Like, dude, there's nothing new about what he's saying. But when you put all 5 of those together, it's a very powerful formula. I imagine it where he says thoughts are things. Like you think about something and then it becomes reality. No one invented the sewing machine without thinking about it for maybe years, or the phone or the TV or anything else, or the Tesla.
Right.
And then if I desire it bad enough, I'm going to go try to do it. And if I show enough enthusiasm, it becomes transferable. If I show that enthusiasm with self-confidence, it becomes buyable. But the glue is my concentration. How willing am I to concentrate on this process, on this thing that I desire, in order to be able to make it happen? It's a complete formula. You don't need anything else. You actually don't need to close the sale. If you're so enthusiastic and so committed, the other guy will buy.
Yeah. Absolutely. What it comes down to, though, I think for a lot of individuals, it's figuring out or feeling like, if I get committed to something, how do I know that I'm committed to the right thing?
You don't know it. Well, there's one way of knowing it.
Okay.
If you don't love it, what the hell are you trying to do it for?
Right.
So
you realize.
Easy to draw the,
hold
it's
on.
real easy to draw the line. If you're thinking, man, I think I can make a lot of money doing this, don't do that. You're not going to make a lot of money. You're going to make a little bit of money. But if you love something, you can make a ton of money.
What's funny is that I think a whole lot of people just quit their job.
Well, do you think Aaron Judge got into baseball because he thought he could make a lot of money, or because he loved baseball?
Love baseball?
Exactly. But think of any athlete; they all love the sport.
Well, they did at the beginning.
By the way, they made a lot of money.
Yeah, they did at the beginning. Some maybe find out. I mean, because I've had that experience where I'm like, oh, I enjoyed this. But as I get into it, for example, for me, it was photography. I still do love photography. But I cannot stand when people want to pay me to take photos of them. I'm like, I just don't want. That somehow it ruins it for me. But, hey, if you.
Well, there's always a chance you're going to screw it up and you won't have earned the money. But what you can do is say, listen, I'm going to do this work for free, and if you like it or you love it, then we'll figure out what a payment would look like. And that way, you're not taking it for money; you're taking it for love, and it turns into money.
Yeah, you got a point. You got a point.
Especially portraits. There's a guy here in Charlotte, St. John Photography. He goes to school and he takes pictures of kids. The class pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Of them not looking. He takes candid pictures of them doing something.
Right.
And I'm telling you something, it's unbelievable.
No,
I have pictures of my kids and my grandkids from this guy that are beyond belief. And, that's the essence is show me the emotion. Show me something that makes me go, oh, my God, that's so beautiful.
So
I think that's where you have to be. You have to be so committed to it that you become emotional about it, because that emotion will create the enthusiasm, create the self-confidence, create the desire, and you're off to the races.
Okay, so let's have this small chat then, because this has happened a number of times in today's marketplace, or at least the stories that you hear about. You hear about the stories where it sounds like, or at least the way the story is reported, so-and-so, 15, 17, 19-year-old, 23-year-old, whatever, what feels like gets to their end point or some point of success relatively quickly. There can be this attitude of, hey, I've been working at this for 6 whole months, but nothing has happened.
Right. Dude, call Thomas Edison on the phone.
I know, right?
But there's also the people that were passionate about posting photographs online. They created a program called Instagram.
Right.
And Facebook comes along, pays them $1 billion for somebody that never made a damn dime. Now they're gazillionaires.
Well, yeah, but the question becomes is when we have limited resource of time and limited resource of energy, we can all be enthusiastic about a number of different things. How does one decide when it's time to switch?
Something you love.
Well, if you love multiple things, how do I know which one to pick?
Oh, come on. You know it in a heartbeat.
I'm messing with you. Okay.
You know it in a heartbeat. If you love photography.
I love it more than I probably should for someone who is not a professional photographer.
Go monetize it.
Oh, no, I don't. I can't. It doesn't work for me. So the photos on our Instagram are my photos, and that's enough.
Why don't you do this? Why don't you call yourself the amateur photographer that hardly makes any money but is willing to accept yours?
Because that's funny. Yeah, that's
funny.
That's funny. But it is what it is. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs out there have a number of different things. I mean, I enjoyed helping people make their transformations, become entrepreneurs, building their skill sets, seeing their business go from zero to anything that allows them to quit their job is like my life in so many ways. It's just that I don't have that same level of passion for photography, although I enjoy it. But cool. I hear what you're saying. At the same time, go ahead.
So let me throw something at the audience right now.
Yes.
If you're wanting to be an entrepreneur or a self-owned business person or go into business for yourself or you have some idea, on October the 30th, Truthful Living is going to show up on Amazon.com. It will give you foundational information that will help you understand where you have to go once you have the idea. Thoughts become things. So you're thinking you want to do this, you're thinking you want to do this, you're thinking you want to do this. What's my formula for making that happen? And the formula is right here in easy to follow instructions. So easy, it's scary. I have a millennial working for me who I gave the book to 2 weeks ago. He finished the book yesterday and he goes, okay, I'm ready. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I just finished that book, changed my life. Cool. Okay. And the kid's on fire. I mean, he makes sales. He's going to make money, but he's going to make money.
Yeah,
He's a good kid.
Love
he
it.
He understood that this gave him the definitions of some of the things that he had been doing and the challenges of the things that he had not been doing that he should be adding to his capabilities, to his capability curriculum vitae.
Yeah, totally understood. And I get that. So now, if anyone for those that have been listening this far and have been enjoying the repertoire and just you, etc., and understanding everything, well, what's going to be the best way for them to get a little bit more and find out more about what you guys got going on?
Well, go to Amazon and type in the word Gitomer. You'll see all my stuff will pop up. Go to my website and it's Gitomer.com, Gitomer.com. I have an online academy. It's called the Gitomer Learning Academy, all one word, .com. And those are the things you'll find. Or listen to our podcast, Sell or Die. It's an amazingly captivating podcast. I do it with my fiancée, Jennifer Gluckow. And it's fun to do. We do it every day. We love what we do. We interact really well. We have amazing guests. You could be one if you want to.
Absolutely.
Well, you have to qualify. You got to be smart and relatively skinny, and you're good. You qualify.
I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. No, you have to be smart, and you have to have an understanding of sales or an understanding of business, so that we can convey some of that message to our audience. And we call Sell or Die. We call our listeners diehards.
Love it.
Got a Facebook group, the private Facebook group. It's really cool. I mean, it's growing tremendously, and it hasn't even reached anywhere near its potential. I mean, we could easily, if we can do 250,000 downloads a month by the end of 2019, we could be at 1 million, 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's more than enough interest and enough people out there who are connected for sure.
And podcasts are about to, people think, well, podcasts are really popular. No. They haven't started exploding yet.
Don't tell them all of our secrets, man.
Well, sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Now, as we wind down, I've got a final question for you because I am eager to hear your answer. There is a listener I know right now who is standing at what I like to call the precipice of a decision. In fact, you could also
the crossroads. I love the crossroads.
Yeah, absolutely. They're standing in front of the superhero outfit store. They are ready to pick out their cape and tights, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to do this entrepreneur thing. Totally.
Right. They're looking for a phone booth. You got to change.
Exactly. However, like I know, that when we reach those moments of decisions, that precipice, there's a companion. That companion often comes in the form of a voice. It reminds us of what we can't do, how it didn't work last time.
Or a spouse. It could be a spouse.
And I was going to say, and for some people, they are related to that voice.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, it's going to be different. This time, they're gonna follow through, and they're going to follow through in the next 24 to 48 hours. So my question to you is as follows: what do they do?
Rather than foam at the mouth about what they're thinking, try starting the conversation by asking the other person some questions about what they think you are capable of. Because most of the time, people give feedback in terms of themselves, and they think they're better than you. So if you give them an idea and they don't think that they can do it, they're also going to think that you can't do it. Think about that. So I always look at the person's clothing that's giving me the advice, the person's car that's giving me the advice. I want somebody who's driving the $160,000 Tesla. I'm going to ask that person. And sometimes you don't want to ask people that you know. Sometimes you want to run it by people that you don't know that are successful. Go to a Rotary Club or a Kiwanis Club and sit down with someone who's retired and talk to them who have been in business for themselves for 40 years and been successful. Ask them. Try to seek wisdom rather than advice. Wow, that's good. I want to...
He's like, hey, I love it when that happens right there.
Exactly.
You're like, hold on, wait a minute. That was awesome. But that's exactly what I think it is totally appropriate. That is kind of the genesis of how a lot of great things come into being. Until the question is asked, we don't know what the answer is, and then all of a sudden it presents itself, and there it is.
So the answer is seek wisdom, not advice.
I like it. I like it 100%.
I just texted it to myself. I'll be tweeting it this afternoon.
I love it. I love it already.
So
now, go ahead.
So if you're an entrepreneur and you're sitting on the fence, err on the side of what you love, and then call some other people who have done what you're seeking to do and ask them, what were their biggest hurdles? What was their moment of doubt? What was their moment of joy? Just talk. People will talk to you. And Jay, they will love talking to you about themselves. Meet them at Starbucks. California's a great place for coffee, isn't it?
We do have a lot of Starbucks. That's for sure.
Yeah. So go to what's it? The city just below the airport.
Irvine.
No. Below that, on the coast.
Newport Beach.
Something or other. No, below Newport. Yeah, something. No. The restaurant there is Las Brisas. It's up on the hill.
Oh, you're talking about.
Yep, I am.
Yeah. Yes. yeah, that one. I know. I know exactly. I have it pictured in my head because there's a Starbucks near there that I actually go to.
Exactly.
From time to time.
Or whatever. But wherever you go, seek to look at some water at sundown.
Yeah.
And you'll come up with an answer. Seek some peace for yourself. Find a peaceful place and think it out.
Totally understood, and I appreciate it. And I definitely appreciate the decades of work that you have put together, and the fact that you're out there letting us in with Truthful Living, letting us into the, hey, here's the secret sauce of where it all came from.
It's my honor to tell you that the secret sauce didn't come from me; it came from Napoleon Hill.
Absolutely.
All I'm doing is putting in the ingredients and stirring it up with a spoon.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what I appreciate. You I mean, you have the humility to admit that, hey, here's where it came from, here's what's going down, and you're sharing it with people. And as always, I definitely want to be the first to say I thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge, your wisdom, as well as your insight here with us today at the Cashflow Diary, sir.
It's a pleasure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. It's time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean? That means go get a copy, Truthful Living. Why? Because you know, like I know, that there's another thing that you need to go do, more importantly, learn, and most importantly, be able to teach yourself how to fish, because that's really what we're talking about here today. Then get over to Gitomer.com, Gitomer.com. Why? Because sales is necessary, and you know that your business could use a whole lot more oxygen. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun talking to you today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.